I have one question for you. Explosions? Good news. As of the making of this video, Broforce Forever is available to play right now on Gamepass. We're taking a look on Xbox Series S. The game can be played single player or co-op, and as everything is fun with friends, and I also have no friends to play with, we'll be taking a look at the solo experience. I will preface this by saying that yes, the game will be more fun with friends, and the co-op support is super nice. We cover a new game every single week, so if you enjoy the video, do consider subscribing. And now, let's fix the severe lack of explosions currently in this video, and let you know if Broforce Forever is worth your time.
One final fight, Broforce Forever, freedom never dies. Broforce Forever!
Broforce Forever absolutely excels at creating a classic, fast-paced arcade experience, but there are a lot of issues. Let's start with the core gameplay loop. You play as the Broforce, a ragtag group of super serious soldiers. You run through levels causing explosions and murdering whatever moves, save trapped bros, and unlock new bros to cause more mayhem. The roster of bros were easily my favourite part about the game. Every single one is a riff on pop culture, and they all have unique attacks. I really loved Braid and B.A. Boracious. Throughout levels, you will come across trapped bros, and saving them changes your current bro, and gives you an extra life. I like this system because it allows you to decide whether you want to risk giving up your good bro in order to have a bit more survivability. It also encourages variety, as the more bros you save, the more bros you unlock. Obviously, not all the bros are winners. I particularly hated the Dynamite bro, but everyone had some sort of use. Enemies similarly have very distinct designs and attacks, and there is always plenty keeping the pace up. Each level is fully destructible and teeming with enemies and explosives. Each battle very quickly escalates into chaos, but this is where the game starts to fall apart in my opinion. This is a case of a game's intended play clashing with the actual mechanics. The game screams, "America, let's go explode everything and kill everyone." However, in the game, you die in one hit, and very quickly. There were a lot of times where the chaos on the screen was so intense that I had no idea how I actually died. It ended up making for a very frustrating experience where I'd be having to replay levels a lot because one stray bullet caught me. These issues are put into full display in the covert missions, where you're given one life and a gauntlet. I found these to be miserable slogs of trial and error. You cannot forward plan because the camera is locked to your character. This means that you have to blindly jump into chaos that will kill you instantly, and it will kill you instantly. It gets worse because the game just throws you in. There is no tutorial, you can't even view the controls in the menu. Arcade games of yonder either had controls written on the cabinet or didn't need them because they were so simple. Broforce does not have that luxury. There are lots of moves and nothing is explained. Unfortunately, Broforce Forever is a bit of a mess in terms of gameplay. It is silly fun, but it very quickly becomes frustrating. As fun as it is to slice through a helicopter as a parody of Blade, it's equally disheartening to get to the end of a one-life mission only to die to a stray bullet. And the frustrations unfortunately keep piling on, because the game is just yelling at you to run in and cause maximum chaos, but punishing you when you do. Broforce Forever is getting a 2 out of 5 for gameplay. As with gameplay, when Broforce Forever's art direction works, it's great, but there are a lot of issues. Starting off, the character designs and general art style are excellent. Every single bro is distinct, as are the enemies you fight. Everyone gets a fun splash screen when they're introduced, but these are unfortunately identical. The names are super fun and silly though. As expected, the explosions look phenomenal, as do the levels themselves in all of their exploding pixel art glory. When completing a level, everything even explodes as you fly away. It's a fun moment to cap off every level. The main issue that I had with the art direction was the repetitiveness. The announcer is funny, but always the same. The splash cards for the new characters are silly, but always the same. The explosion at the end of each level is always a fun watch, but always the same. I cannot distinctly pull any levels apart in my memory outside of their environment because everything just meshes into an explosive blur. The game also gets strangely quiet. I had long stretches where there was no sound at all. When the fighting gets going and chaos is rife, things do sound great, but ultimately too quiet, even with maximized settings. I want my eardrums to actually explode, please. We also have the gameplay art direction issue of attacks not being clear within the chaos. You are going to die to a lot of things you never even saw. UI design is thankfully super clear and concise, with a little bit of stylization. It is always easy to see the information that you need. The art direction here is a roller coaster. When everything comes together, it is excellent, but outside of that, it is incredibly repetitive, and it doesn't always supplement the gameplay well. It's scoring an average 3 out of 5.
Of the evil we surmounted. Every day there's another way to
In the spirit of arcade games, Broforce Forever has a very limited narrative. As stated, you are the Broforce, a force of freedom nature. There is enough here to provide context to the chaos, and the parody is pretty silly and entertaining, but it doesn't really go further than that. You do get a little line before each level, which did get a chuckle out of me, but that's about it. There's no further narrative elements. Naturally though, Broforce is a perfect fit for emergent narrative through gameplay, especially with friends, but this falls into the same trappings as art direction. The emergent narrative is repetitive. There's only so many times that running into a room full of enemies and exploding everything as a parody character makes for a good water cooler moment. However, this will be exemplified with friends, so you'll definitely have lots of laughs about the silly stuff you got up to in game, but I feel like a lot of that's going to come from your friends doing silly stuff rather than the game doing silly stuff. Overall, Broforce Forever is all context and repetitive substance, and scores a 2 out of 5 for its narrative elements. Broforce Forever is a pretty large content offering, but it is missing some elements and has a dire lack of settings. Content-wise, you're getting a ton of levels across single player and co-op campaign and arcade mode. Each level can be played with a massive roster of bros. Co-op supports up to 4 players. However, this content offering feels incomplete because, as previously stated, there is no sort of tutorial or introduction to how the game actually works. Thankfully, the game is technically sound. We experienced no bugs whilst playing. You also have the choice between 2 difficulty settings and a handful of save slots. Settings are dire. There are sliders for master and music volume and toggle the announcer. I found that even at maximum volume though, everything was still too quiet. Camera shake can be increased or decreased. You can choose to always show player bubbles in co-op. Vibration can be enabled. You also have the option to clear your unlocks and arcade progress separately, but there is so much missing here. No option to even view the controls, let alone adjust any of them, no graphics options, no options to move the camera in game. You can turn the announcer on, but not adjust his volume, and the audio options present are just super limited. You have to take Broforce Forever as it comes, but unfortunately, it won't tell you. The large variety of ways to play the game, amount of content, and lack of bugs are saving Broforce from a low score, but it's still getting an average 3 out of 5 for specs due to missing game elements and a severe lack of settings. It will take you between 5 to 10 hours to complete the campaign of Broforce. For an afternoon with friends, this is a solid length, but as a solo player, this felt too long. I had had my fill after a few hours, but your mileage may vary. The game is nice and friendly with checkpoints, and the levels are never too long. It's very easy to squeeze the game into your free time, and the constant new bros give you a nice reason to keep playing. My time did feel a bit wasted when I'd have to replay levels a lot, especially as you have to re-watch cutscenes every single time you restart a level. This wasn't the end of the world, however. Cutscenes are a few seconds maximum. It's a minor annoyance at best. Hard drive footprint is also nice and small at just under 750 megabytes. Overall, Broforce Forever has a great respect for your hard drive and a decent respect for your time. It will get repetitive, but the game doesn't massively overstay its welcome. It scores a respectable 4 out of 5 on our commitment scale. I hate to say it, but I don't think Broforce Forever is worth your time. It is a bit of silly fun, but ultimately a mess and far too repetitive for my liking. I can absolutely see this being a great couple of hours with some friends, but watching paint dry can be fun with your friends. However, if this does look like a fun time with some of your buddies, please don't let me deter you. I imagine it will be great. Overall, I'm left disappointed. But at the same time, I did destroy a helicopter with a sword, and I can't say that about many other games.